Toxic. Adjective. Acting as or having the effect of poison. Poisonous. If you've logged on to the internet at all in the recent years, you've probably seen someone or something being referred to as toxic. Toxic people, toxic relationships, toxic environments. You may have even seen articles or videos or memes on how to get rid of toxic people in your life. You may have even felt that someone that you know in your life is a toxic person. But what if I told you that almost all of the information out there about this supposed toxic behavior is actually bull? And what if I told you that if you've been labeling people as toxic, you might actually be the toxic person? Before we get started, have you ever had to deal with a toxic person? Let me know in the comments how you handled it. Okay, first let's talk about what a toxic person supposedly is. According to WebMD, a toxic person is anyone whose behavior adds negativity and upset to your life. They go on to provide a list of warning signs of a toxic person. You feel like you're being manipulated into something you don't want to do. You're constantly confused by the person's behavior. You feel like you deserve an apology that never comes. You always have to defend yourself to this person. You never feel fully comfortable around them. You continually feel bad about yourself in their presence. Do you notice a common word in those warning signs? It's not that hard to pick out. It's feel. When I was doing research to put this video together, I stumbled upon Nathaniel Drew's take on this very subject. And in his video, he says that you are not responsible for changing other people. So if someone is toxic, it's not your responsibility to change that person. And he's 100% correct. But what you are responsible for is your own feelings and emotions. And with those warning signs that WebMD listed, all of it is about how you feel, how the other person makes you feel. But other people are not responsible for how you feel. You are responsible for how you feel. My biggest problem with labeling someone as toxic is it takes the responsibility off of you and puts it onto another individual. After all, the actual definition of a toxin is a poisonous element, something that is external to us, that if we come in contact with, will make us ill. And what you're saying when you label someone else as toxic is you're saying, I'm letting this person affect how I feel. I'm letting this situation control and dictate my emotions and my feelings. So I'm not saying there won't be situations where people rub you the wrong way, and I'm not saying that there won't be people who you just generally don't enjoy being around, but it seems there's a very common trend to just so quickly label someone as toxic anytime we don't like them or we disagree with them. And the problem with that is it waters down the true meaning of the phrase and detracts from people who are actually dealing with toxic people or toxic situations, because those things do exist. What's worse is it seems that most of the advice surrounding how to handle toxic people involves shutting someone off, shutting someone out of your life, completely cutting them out. And in a world where social media is polarizing all of us, it doesn't really seem practical or a good idea to just axe someone and bring the hammer down on them just because you don't like them or you disagree with them or they triggered you in a certain way. Or even worse still, we assumed something about the way they thought about us, because so much of what people think about you is based on a preconceived notion with previous experiences from other people. And I'll give you a good example. I was in an office setting the other day and someone was putting on some music and they said, "Tony, what kind of music do you like?" And someone said, "Oh, I bet he likes metal because he's bald and has a beard." Now, I understand that a lot of metal fans might look like me, but I can't help most of the way I look. So I could have said folk music, I could have said blues, I could have said jazz, I could have said classical, but this person had a preconceived notion about what I would like to listen to based on my appearance. And even if you know someone well, you still have these preconceived notions that you hold about them based on your interactions with other people. How many times have you said something to someone that you've said to other people previously without incident, and then you say it to this one particular person and they completely take it the wrong way? You had no ill intent, but they feel attacked, or they think that your intention behind your words is something totally different than what you're actually feeling. That is the problem with the list of warning signs that you will find on most descriptions of toxic people. It's all about how someone makes you feel or how you think someone is trying to manipulate you. When if you don't have an open line of communication with somebody, you don't really actually know what their intent is. And that brings me to my next point, which is it's worrisome that a lot of the advice surrounding how to handle a toxic person is that cut them out, cut them off, how to distance yourself. Why isn't the advice how to communicate with them better? Why isn't the advice how to have more empathy for someone who's going through maybe a difficult time in their life, and that's why they have this negative outlook? Now, depending on who you ask, human beings have 27 or 30 or sometimes more emotions. And of those 27 emotions, 8 of those are negative or what we would consider undesirable. So there's 8 potential chances out of 27 that when you bump into someone in life, they're experiencing one of those negative or undesirable emotions. People aren't always going to be feeling their best or their happiest or the cheeriest. That's part of life. You can't just say this person is negative, so they're toxic and I need to cut them out. And I know what you might be thinking. Well, Tony, there's people in my life who I've given them chances and it's been long enough and I just have to cut them out. Consider the fact that now you are placing your timeline on somebody else's emotions. So let's say that someone was dealing with maybe family trauma or a health issue or a bad breakup or the loss of a friend. You don't get to dictate how long it takes someone to get over that. Now, it doesn't give that person a free pass to treat you poorly or to, be rude to you or abuse you, but maybe you should try to have a little more empathy for that person if that's why they are behaving the way that they're behaving. You also have to ask yourself, is there something that I'm doing that's eliciting this behavior out of them? Because it's probably unlikely that this person is having the same response from every person that they come in contact with. So to you, this person might be toxic, but do they have other healthy relationships with other people? If the answer to that question is yes, ask yourself, why is it with you in particular that you feel that they're becoming toxic? Now, there's going to be people who it might simply not be worth the effort to you to try to have more empathy or more patience. If you think your neighbor's a prick, okay, avoid your neighbor. But when you read about a lot of stories or hear about a lot of stories about people dealing with these toxic relationships and toxic people, they're almost always referring to decade-long friendships, decade-long romantic relationships with family members or long-time employers. And these are the relationships that are going to have the biggest impact if you simply just cut them out of your life completely. And that brings me to my next point, which is be very careful to throw that heavy label of being toxic on somebody. Because again, going back to what a toxic substance is, when you label someone as toxic, you're saying everyone should steer clear of this person. If you come in contact with this, it will make you sick. It will kill you. When I think a lot of times it's really just a situation of, maybe those two people just don't jive. There's something about their personalities that rub the wrong way against one another. And it's okay. That's okay. It's okay to have differences of opinion, life, and how things should be done. It's okay to have different perspectives. It's not really okay to just throw that label on someone and say to the world, this person is toxic, they're no good to anybody, or, you know what, this person made me feel a certain way, so this person is toxic, they are useless. Going back to some of the advice that I've seen from a lot of people about how to handle a toxic relationship or a toxic person, it's that this person needs to do work. This person needs to work on themselves. And again, I just feel like that is shirking all responsibility and just saying that, hey, you know what? I'm good. I'm a great person. You are the problem. You are the one that needs to be fixed. And I'm going to just cut you off until you fix yourself. And anecdotally speaking, I have noticed that a lot of the people who are very outspoken about them removing toxic people from their lives, they seem to have a trail of bodies in their wake. And you have to ask yourself the question, what is the common denominator in all of those failed relationships? It's that person, it's them. So I am very cautious around people who flippantly throw that word toxic around. So in the end, my advice to you is fairly simple. Be confident in who you are. Be firm in your beliefs. And be slow with your emotions. Don't let yourself go to the effect of other people. I find it very difficult for people to manipulate the way that I feel. And I do find myself getting annoyed by people quite frequently, but that doesn't mean they deserve to be labeled with that heavy label of toxic. Just because maybe my preference is a little more introverted, to have a little more solitude, more quiet, and more peace, doesn't mean that just because you don't act that way, that you're a toxic person. And try to have a little bit more empathy for the people around you. Realize that most people actually have good intentions at heart. Even if they fail to execute on those good intentions, they mean well. And so be a little more patient, be a little more empathetic, and try to understand why someone is behaving the way that they do. If you've dealt with a truly toxic person before, I would love to hear about your story. Let me know if you think I'm way off base. Let me know in the comments what you think of my opinion on this matter. And yeah, let's get a conversation going. This is The On Life. Thank you so much for watching, and you will see me in the next video.